What up, Florida Freediver fans? Jonathan and Eric here today, and today we're going to tell you about some bands and how to tie them right. So if you ever have had a band do this to you,
Alright, so we have a layout of a bunch of different types of bands and wishbones and stuff that we're going to show you how to do. Speargun stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to show you how to do a few different types of bands. Let's start by saying one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they're tying their own bands is just not tying their constrictor knots tight enough or not using the right knot. So we're going to show you how to make that knot. We're going to show you how to make sure to get those knots tight enough. And let's get into it.
Yeah. So let's go first for the Polespear band, something that I think a lot of our customers use, especially going to the Bahamas and anywhere else that you might want to use your Polespear. A little bit different ideology for the actual wishbone, right? So you can use a variety of different pieces of material. We like paracord, which is super easy to get your hands on. It's really, really strong. And it's super easy to make a wishbone. So the first way that we're going to do it is just tie some overhand knots, right? You don't need to have anything super special about it, but you want to make that overhand knot tight so that it can't roll and then come undone. Another thing that you can do is burn the edges to where it kind of flattens down so that it end up something like this, where it's a nice pretty overhand knot with a burned edge, right? So you're making sure that that guy is squared away. The other thing that you want to do with your Polespear wishbone is not make it too short, because a lot of times guys will make these too short, they'll tie them into their band, and then all of a sudden they can't actually loop this guy through their Polespear, and they have to cut it and totally redo it, which is real annoying. So you want to make sure that you make this thing long enough, and there's not really a downside to making it too long. Obviously not 3 feet, but you know, having a 12-inch wishbone on a Polespear band is not bad.
I've always found when I'm making wishbones for Polespears that I'm going to make one knot on one end. That's just a simple overhand knot. Like Jonathan said, make sure to get that guy nice and tight, and then you can trim this and burn in off the end. And when I go to make the second knot, I'm going to go and make that knot about where I think it should be. I'm going to go ahead and almost double that to where it's longer than I originally thought it should be, because it always needs to be longer than what you think. So like that is not an unreasonable wishbone for a Polespear.
Yeah,
you want that thing to be pretty long.
And it just makes it easier, right? So when you have your Polespear and you're trying to put it on there, you're not fighting for 5 minutes trying to fit that in there, because I know that I've definitely done that and it's been real annoying. All right, so now we're going to show you guys how to attach that Polespear band to your Polespear. So here I've got the back section of a Headhunter Nomad, and what we're going to do is take the band with our wishbone, fold it over in half, push it through the actual Polespear, and then you've got all this extra to fold the band into this loop. So there's a couple ways that you can do it. You can keep it to one side. I personally like to wrap it over the entire pole, right? Makes it look a little cleaner, and I'm pulling from one direction.
That's the real way to do it.
That's the real way to do it, right? That's the way I like to have it done. So that's super easy way to attach your Polespear band to your Polespear. Let's talk about some Speargun bands. We're going to show you guys how to make these different types of wishbones that we use, and different materials as well. So Eric, I'll let you take this one.
We've got some stuff laid out here. I've got a few different tools and a few different types of rubber. And I've got a nice piece of big, easy to see, bright line. I'm going to show you guys how to make the actual constrictor knots and show you the difference between a correct constrictor knot and an improper constrictor knot.
Because you can absolutely tie this thing wrong, right?
Oh yeah,
and
oh yeah.
If you do, you're going to have what happened in the beginning of the video, where the band pops right out and it's going to ruin your dive day.
So to get started with tying a constrictor knot, the first thing you need is the proper tools to do that. What I like to use, actually what I prefer to use, is a bench vise. That's going to make it the easiest. We use these fancy little, it's called an H needle. It's actually for tying cast nets, but we use it for something different. But if you don't have access to that stuff, 2 pairs of needle nose pliers will get the job done for you. You need something that you can wrap and pull against. You can't tie a constrictor knot tight enough with just your hands. unless you've got just salty old crusty like sailor hands. I'm sure somebody can
Not
do it.
boy band hands.
Yes, not those. And all right, so let's get started with just showing you the constrictor knot, and then we'll show some different wishbones. Okay, so the key here tying your constrictor knots is that you want to make sure you're tying it correctly. There's two ways that I see people mess these up. So to get started, you're going to hold your band with one hand, take your constrictor line or your tie line, you're going to tie a nice little X. You're going to loop over the top and make yourself that X right there. I'll show you one more time. So you want to be tying away from yourself, cross over once. Now the mistake I see people make is that they tie what's called a clove hitch, and they come straight up the middle and go underneath the X from there. But what you want to do is, this is the rest of our line here, you want to take your tag end, and you want to make sure you're on the outside of this other side, and then come back around to go underneath the X, just like that. And the way you know that you've got that correct is when you go to tighten it a little bit, you should have one piece of line going over what looks like an overhand knot or a granny knot, right? So like when you tie your shoes, the first thing you do, you want to make sure that that granny knot is sitting underneath, just like that. That's going to be a proper constrictor. And then from there, you can go ahead and tighten that using your mechanical devices.
Some of the different wishbones that I want to show you guys is the Rob Allen wishbone. So definitely a really very popular one, and it's made up of two composite beads with some spectra or dyneema in the middle. You can buy the beads by itself and tie the knots, but most of the time they just come pre-made, super easy to install as well, which I'll show you in a little bit. Another option is the Rife double overhands for the beads, so it's kind of nice that there's nothing to break. It's just the line itself. And then another option is just tying some loops, and basically when you have a tie-in muzzle, you can tie your bands in just like this, so that you don't have to actually push this through, tie the knots, and it be locked in. You can actually undo this wishbone right here, this yellow line, and pop your bands in and off of something that you don't have the option to pop your bands in and out. That was confusing, wasn't it? Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this week's video. We're super stoked to bring you guys some really good content. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. And we're going to do a giveaway by...
Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Let us know what your favorite kind of wishbone is that you use. What type do you use? The beads? Do you use just line, the loop system? What you got?
What do you use? And of course, if you stay tuned for the entire video, you guys are going to get a cool promo code. So we're going to use, what do you think? Boy bands?
Boy bands.
Or salty hands?
Salty hands, boy bands.
We'll do boy bands. Boy bands is our promo code, and you guys are going to get a discount on some bulk rubber on the website. So type in boy bands and go check out what kind of discount you can get from our website. And as always, we'll see you next time.